Hey guys, welcome back to the Bryant Report. I'm your host, Mike Bryant, and we are continuing on in the Buford Pusser series of videos, and this is part two, as promised, of the David Rausch, TBI, director of the TBI video series that I've been doing. And hope you guys have been having a good weekend. Did you guys celebrate Halloween? Did you give out candy to the trick or treaters? How do you guys do it in your neighborhood? Do you switch the light off? If you don't want to give out candy, let me know about that. Me personally, I did not give out candy this time around. I don't know. I've been kind of in a funk about the holidays for the last couple of years, so I just decided not to. And I was gonna watch the World Series instead, and I was getting all set up for that. And wouldn't you know it, but I took a tumble down the stairs of my house. So that was pretty crazy. I didn't have any serious injuries or anything. Got the little brace here on my elbow. Uh, I did. Kind of the way I slid. I kind of hit my back and the back of my head, and then of course my elbow took the worst of it, and kind of slammed down on the hard surface of the kitchen floor. But man, you just never know what's going to happen, and it's I guess it's just something to know. You're not promised a tomorrow, so. But I hope you guys didn't have anything remotely close to that happen. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time. We're going to dive right into this part two of the video with David Rausch, and then of course as a refresher, last video we talked about a particular case where a couple of TBI agents back in 2015, before David Rausch was the TBI director, they were involved in investigating a case where it was a possible murder for hire plot, and the person that was in prison, uh, I guess he was trying to barter with some I guess some valuable items that were being stored at his parents' house, and I guess he was gonna. I guess the gist of it was he was going to use those items to hire someone, to commit murder, and or to unalive someone. I don't know. I guess I should be careful with my language here on YouTube. And so the two TBI agents that were investigating that case, they decided to go to this gentleman's parents' house and retrieve those items, but they failed to get a search warrant before they went, and that they were just going to try to get a consent search from the property owners. And of course, the property owners were the parents of the person that was in prison, and so they didn't really want to cooperate with law enforcement. And I'm not going to pass judgment on them. I mean, look, they're parents of someone that's in prison being accused of something. And so, like I said, I'm not going to pass judgment on them. They were just looking out for this. And who knows, maybe they had a bad experience with law enforcement prior to that. So they refused and, basically said, hey, go get a search warrant. Well, the TBI agents didn't want to do that. And they concocted some sort of scenario where they decided to bust the door down and go in, and they called it an exigency search. And of course, they got sued. Well, first they were referred for criminal charges, but that got dismissed. And then they got sued by the homeowners, the parents, and ultimately the courts ruled in favor of the homeowners. And so the two TBI agents, they were ordered to pay I believe it was $125,000 in damages. And then David Rausch, who was the newly appointed TBI director at the time, this was in 2018. You know, now you would think a newly appointed TBI director would have just issued a simple statement and said, well, the courts, we abide by the court's ruling, and we're going to look at our training practices and our SOPs and things of that nature. And moving forward, the public can rest assured something like this is not going to happen in the future. But that's not what he did. He doubled down. He supported the TBI agents. And look, I guess there might be something to be said for a supervisor of a department sticking up for their employees. But in this case, I don't know, man. It's a bad look. It's a bad look when you're sticking up for agents who could had every opportunity to go get a search warrant and not be involved in something like this and avoid being sued, but that's not what he did. He doubled down and supported the agents and basically said that they did nothing wrong. And the relevance of why I'm bringing this up is this is the guy that was in charge of the Buford Pusser TBI report that dropped in August of this year, earlier this year. And a lot of people have, it hasn't been a very popular opinion. There's been a lot of folks, particularly those folks in Adamsville, who, and some of the family members of Buford who were like, hey, this is crazy, because it is rife with a lot of problems. There are a lot of statements in there that are hearsay. They did lose, the TBI did lose all of the physical evidence. Hell, at one point, they lost the actual case file for a number of years. And then now they want to come back 60 years down the road and try to issue some sort of opinion. And they got the Attorney General, Mark Davidson, on board saying, making claims that, well, gee, if Buford was alive, we would seek a murder indictment. And I don't know. I think it's crazy. I think that, if you're going to come out if you're going to make a decision on a cold case that's 60 years old, it should be based on a confession, DNA, something of that nature. But all this, second, third, fourth hand, well, I heard so-and-so say that so-and-so said that so-and-so said, that stuff, we shouldn't be wasting tax dollars on that. And so that's why I bring this up. That to me is why it's relevant. And we're kind of looking into the mindset of, look, David Rausch, he was the man in charge of the TBI at the time that this investigation happened and this report came out. And so I think it is worthwhile, taking a look into, past cases that this guy's been involved in to kind of figure out, well, what kind of mindset is this guy operating on, And so already we see that it's not really a problem for him if his TBI agents are out there not using proper search warrants, to obtain evidence. And so that brings us to today. This is part 2, obviously, and this next case that I saw, flows along those lines, and we'll go ahead and let me go ahead and bring that up. Let's set the stage here, and let's see here. Boom. And so another case that I was able to find was this case, and it involves a man by the name of Joshua Garton. I think is how you pronounce it, Garton or Garton. But anyway, if you read the headline here, Tennessee to pay $125,000 to settle lawsuit by a man arrested for posting a meme mocking a dead cop. Now, I'm about as pro law enforcement as you're going to find, with the exception of if the law enforcement folks are not, if they're acting out of bounds, I'm going to call it out. I'm also pro freedom of speech. We may not like the things that we see on the internet or in the news or whatnot, or out on the public street, on the public corner, if you will. But we do have a First Amendment, and these folks are protected in whatever it is they're trying to say. And so this guy here in particular, he basically posted a meme on social media, and it was basically the gist of it was a cartoon of someone urinating on the grave of a dead cop, and I forget what exactly it had to do with, but I don't know. I guess apparently this police officer had passed away, I believe, in the line of duty, and this gentleman here, this Joshua Garton, he posted a meme of it, making fun of it. Well, that, I guess, angered some folks in law enforcement. I think the way it all came about was it was the family members of the police officer that had passed away, and they reported that to law enforcement, and then law enforcement looked into it, and then they ultimately ended up arresting this guy. Now, I guess even as they investigated it, they found out that it was kind of an AI generated meme. It wasn't the actual grave of the person. Actually, I think it was an album cover. It was something that was on an album cover of some band, and he just basically took it and changed, the information on it, and then reposted it. So it wasn't the actual grave or anything like that. But they arrested him, and so he was held. I want to say he was held for like 2 weeks or something, and then I guess a judge or somehow or another they looked into it, and the judge dismissed it, and then of course he filed a lawsuit because it was a violation of his First Amendment rights, and then ultimately they were ordered to pay $125,000 to settle the lawsuit. So let's take a look on the next slide here. Now, it's already bad enough that this was related to somebody's First Amendment rights and it was violated. As you can see here, it says, according to other records released in Garton's lawsuit, it also led to a flood of angry callers at all of the agencies involved. The director of the TBI, David Rausch, compared the callers to supporters of the J6 riot at the U.S. Capitol building. The trolls will do what trolls will do, Rausch wrote in one text. It appears they and the lawyers forget that there are surviving family members who have rights as well. My assessment is these are the same folks who called the insurrection at the Capitol free speech. And then the next slide, Garton's lawsuit. Let's see here. Okay. Garton's lawsuit also claims that law enforcement tracked calls criticizing them for Garton's arrest, and in at least one instance decided to try to pin down who the caller was so we can ask the local police and maybe have them go out there and ask him to stop. Disappointment and reality seemed to set in once a judge dismissed the criminal charge against Garton. We are finished, one TBI agent wrote in another text. The judge dismissed the case, said nobody was victimized. And then Rausch texted, this is not good. The TBI and Crouch did not immediately respond for requests for comment. And I think that was the last slide there. So we got a lot going on here. And again, we're talking about a First Amendment case. people, we don't need to be arresting people that are posting memes. That's kind of something that's going on in Europe right now, the UK, and it's not really, that's not a good look. It's not American. It's unconstitutional. And look, there's a ton of speech out there that I don't agree with, that I don't like, that I find offensive. But if we start arresting people just based off of memes and posts and speech and things like that, then I mean, where does it end? And who becomes the arbiter of what people should be arrested for and what they shouldn't be arrested for? I mean, that's a dangerous territory. That's the kind of stuff that happens in, like, communist China or Russia or something like that, North Korea. And look, again, I'm very pro law enforcement, and I feel for the family members of this cop that passed away. But at the same time, you know, you just have to. It's reminiscent of this Charlie Kirk situation, and I'm not trying to get political on here, but we all know that if we've been paying attention, things happen. He got assassinated, and then there was all kinds of folks out there posting just some of the most. I mean, it was beyond offensive. I mean, it was just downright heinous, atrocious. And now some of those folks lost their jobs. But what didn't happen is they didn't get arrested, unless they were trying to incite violence or trying to encourage people, to carry out more assassinations. But um, it's just the wrong thing. If what they're doing if what they're is saying is offensive, then if their employer wants to fire them, fine. But we don't need to be arresting these people. And here we have the TBI. They were involved, and even when the decision went against them, David Rausch speaking out and supporting his agents, and then criticizing people, the people, the taxpayers, the citizens that pay this man's salary, pay the salary of the folks in the TBI. These people were upset and made some phone calls, and he wants to lump them in with some, what he characterizes as insurrectionists. Now, that can be, the J6 can be a separate debate, but in David Roush's eyes, that's how he looks at them, as they're insurrectionists, just simply for calling and complaining about a guy who got arrested for exercising his First Amendment rights. And then not only that, but he took it a step further, and they were beginning to see if they could track down some of the callers to get retaliation for being critical. Which, I don't know. I guess maybe I should be, maybe I should be worried. Maybe there'll be some retaliation for me for making this video criticizing David Rausch and the TBI. Now, I'm not a citizen of. I don't live in the state of Tennessee, so I'm not sure what his jurisdictional reach would be for me. But I don't know. Maybe I should be concerned. Um, but it's not going to stop me. It's not going to stop me from exercising my First Amendment rights. And now, if YouTube wants to pull the video, that's on them. But it's just another look into the mindset of a guy. And also, this was in 2023. So now, it's at that point he's 5 years into the job as TBI director. So you know whatever he said in 2018 about the first case that I brought up, maybe you could chalk it up to, well, he's new to the job, he's inexperienced, that kind of thing. But in this case, he's 5 years down the road from being TBI director. So surely, he would have had some seasoning, had some experience, and known better. But no, he's still continuing down the road. So I just thought it was a relevant thing to bring up. And again, this is all just trying to get inside the mindset of the people that was behind this atrocious, ridiculous Buford Pusser, the Pauline Pusser murder investigation report. And, people aren't buying it. And you know what? I don't know if any of you guys are following it, but the city of Adamsville had a meeting about it within the last week or so. And I think the sentiment of the townsfolk, because they have the Buford Pusser Museum right there in their city, and they also have a festival and some other things, and they have because of this report that came out, they have to start having the conversation about what they're going to do. And it seemed to me, anybody that was privy to that meeting, it seems like the town folk were in support of Buford Pusser and not happy with this report that came out. So I think, I don't know, like I said, like I've said in previous posts or previous videos, I'm anxious to be able to take a look at this report when it's made available online. I don't know when that's going to be. I've been keeping tabs on it. But from what I've seen so far, I'm not impressed with it. And I can tell you this, as a former investigator of the Navy, if I had put together a report using some of the kind of the stuff that they've been using, I would have been, it's likely I would have been court-martialed, So, but now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments what you have to think about it, what you have to say about it. What do is this, you think I'm reaching too much? And I don't know. I hope you guys have been continue to have a great weekend. I hope you have a great week coming up. And hopefully I'll start getting some of these videos out with a little bit quicker, not take so much time in between. But and another thing, my next, just to give you a heads up, the next series of videos that I plan is going to be in regards to Mike Elam. And I think he's a very relevant and focal figure in all of this, because I think he's had a big hand in stirring up the controversy, getting this TBI report kicked off and put in motion. And I'm going to review his book. I have actually I have it right here. The Buford Pusser, The Other Story by Mike Elam. And I'm going to do a review of that. So I hope you guys stay tuned. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great week coming up. And let me know in the comments what you think. And, if there's something, if you got some ideas for videos you guys want to see in the future, let me know. If you like this video, please consider hitting the thumbs up on the way out. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. It's 100% free, helps the channel grow, helps push the message out to the masses. And I truly do appreciate anybody that watches, likes, subscribes, shares, comments. And other than that, I will see you guys on the next video. Take care, everybody.